My aunt tried to bankrupt my parents and get me fired because I defended my cousin at Christmas dinner, so I recorded every crime she committed. Years later, she paid $15,000 in restitution and lost everything. The first sign of trouble came 3 days after Christmas when my phone buzzed with a text from my dad. Got a letter from the HOA. Something about our lawn being half an inch too tall. $200 fine. I stared at the message knowing that Aunt Penelope was head of the HOA Architectural Review Committee. I drove over after my shift to help them sort it out and confirmed what I had already known. The violation notice had Aunt Penelope's signature at the bottom. My stomach dropped. Dad was already out there with a ruler, measuring grass blades. It's exactly 2 inches, just like the bylaws say. Mom stood on the porch, wringing her hands. Penelope's been on that board for 3 years. Why is she suddenly finding problems now? We both knew why. The next morning, another violation arrived. Mailbox was the wrong shade of black. $300 fine. Dad spent his lunch break at Home Depot, matching paint samples. By Thursday, they'd received 5 more notices. Driveway had oil stains that were barely visible. Trash cans were visible from the street for 37 minutes instead of the allowed 30. Christmas lights were still up on December 28th, 1 day past the deadline. Each violation came with escalating fines. That's $2,300 in 1 week, Mom said, spreading the notices across their kitchen table. Her hands trembled as she sorted through them. We can't afford this. Not with your dad's medical bills. I started documenting everything. Took photos of their property from every angle. Time-stamped when their trash cans went out and came back in. Measured the grass myself. Created a spreadsheet tracking every single violation notice. The patterns were obvious. Penelope was hitting them with something new every single day. Then things got worse. Mom worked as an administrative assistant at Willowbrook Private Academy, the same school where Penelope volunteered on the board. She'd been there 12 years, never had a single complaint. But suddenly, parents started pulling her aside with concerns. Mrs. Henderson cornered her in the parking lot. I heard your son was fired from Walmart for stealing. Is that true? I'm just worried about the people around our children. Mom called me in tears. 3 different parents asked me about it today. Mrs. Chen said Penelope mentioned it at the board meeting. Said she was worried about me having access to student records if I raised a thief. I drove straight to the school, my documentation folder thick with evidence. The principal, Mrs. Rodriguez, looked uncomfortable when I explained the situation. Your mother is an excellent employee, but if parents lose confidence, she trailed off, but the threat was clear. That weekend, my best friend Jake called at midnight. Dude, I just got an eviction notice. Your uncle says I missed 3 months of rent. Jake had never missed a payment in 2 years. He sent me screenshots of every cleared check, every receipt. Uncle Robert owned the building, but when Jake tried to call him, he wouldn't answer. The eviction notice gave him 10 days to vacate. I spent Sunday helping Jake document his payment history while fielding panicked texts from my parents about new HOA violations. A garden gnome was facing the wrong direction. The house numbers weren't reflective enough. The doormat was 2 inches over the property line. Each notice was signed by Penelope with increasingly larger signatures. My cousin Kathy's birthday party was the following Saturday. I almost didn't go, but Mom insisted we couldn't let Penelope drive us away from family. The moment I walked in, conversations stopped. Aunt Patricia whispered something to her daughter, who quickly ushered her kids to the other side of the yard. Penelope stood by the punch bowl, surrounded by relatives. It's just so concerning, she said, loud enough for everyone to hear. First the theft from Walmart, now he's harassing me with baseless accusations. I have the texts right here. She pulled out her phone, showing something to the gathered aunts. Look, he called me evil, said I was destroying the family. I'm honestly frightened. I pulled out my own phone to show my actual